Hello and welcome. I'm Greg Johnston. I'm a Senior Application Specialist with Sensors and Software. If you have attended previous webinars or have watched the recorded webinars on our website, you know that I've covered many features of the Echo Project software, including the LineView and SliceView modules. Today's topic is about deliverables. That is, after you've finished the GPR survey and analyzed the data, what do you give to your customer? That is, before you send the invoice, of course. We know that for many of our customers, paint marks on the ground indicating the position of subsurface objects is the final deliverable. But we have also learned that many of you are also providing reports to your clients. So this webinar is about the reporting features of the Echo Project software. Our motto for the Echo Project software is from field to final report. So let's look at the various report outputs that Echo Project provides. If you look under the Tools Report option, menu option, or use the drop-down on the side of the Reports button on the toolbar, you see a number of report options. A GPR Summary Report is a PDF file. A Google Earth report generates a file that can be opened in Google Earth. A project report is a spreadsheet file, that is a CSV or comma-separated values file. A CAD report is an AutoCAD file in DXF format. There are two other reports on the list, the Bridge Deck Condition Report and the Pavement Structure Report. As the names imply, these are specialized reports for very specific applications of GPR. I will not be covering these reports today. Let's start with the summary report. This type of report allows you to save a PDF document consisting of text, data images generated with Echo Project, and other images including photographs, sketches, field notes, etc. This is the most popular report. Let me show you how to create one. I have opened a GPR project file consisting of a few lines and a grid. This is data from a utility locating survey. As you've seen in other webinars, all the GPR data lines and grids saved in the project are listed in the Project Explorer window on the left. You can see that many grid lines are in the grid folder. I can close the grid folder by pressing the minus button on the side of the name. This allows me to see the line set folder without having to scroll down. The most important thing to remember is, as I'm working with my data in Echo Project, I'm keeping an eye out for data images that I might want to include in the report to my customer. For example, because I collected my GPR data with GPS, you can see the complete survey in the MapView window. Well, I want my customer to see how much work I did, and to provide proof that I surveyed the whole area he contracted me to do. So I definitely want to include this image in the report that I'm making. To attach this image to my project file, I make sure that I've selected the window containing the image. So I click on this so it has the focus, and then I select the Save View button on the toolbar. This is the button with lots of green on it. When I press the button, it asks me if I want to save the image with the default name or edit to a new name. I'm going to press OK and save this. The MapView name looks fine to me. To confirm that the image is saved, select the project name in Project Explorer over here, and then on the other side, go to the Attachments tab. Here you will see the images saved. There's mapview.png. If you want to verify it's the right image, select it and then use the drop-down to open it. So I click here, use the drop-down, hit open, open it, and there it is. So that's the image from the MapView window that I have saved. The button for saving images and attaching them to the project, that is the Save View button, is available from every window in Echo Project. As I continue to analyze the data, I will continue to save images that I might want to include in my report. As I look through the data lines in the line preview window, I see an image that I want to save. For example, let me go to line 3. This is a long line all squished onto one screen. So I zoom in to see the targets. So I hit the zoom in button. I scroll across and I see a nice image that I might want to include in my report. I make sure that the line preview window is selected, and you can tell because the top frame of the window is darker. And then I press the Save View button on the toolbar. It comes up with an optional name, line set, line 3. That sounds good, so I can hit OK to save it. Now that I have a couple images saved to the project, let's take a sneak peek into the GPR Summary Report. Again, select it under Tools Report or on the menu from the drop-down on the side of the Report button on the toolbar. I'm going to use that one. So here's the Report button. I use the little side drop-down and I select GPR Summary Report. And here are the images, including the last 2 images that I just created. But you also notice that there are already a few images in there. How did those images get in there? Do you remember the camera button on the DVL? That button allows you to save the screen image during data collection. So if you see something interesting that you want to save, you press the camera button. Where do those screen images go? Well, they're saved in 2 places. One is here, attached to the project file, the GPZ file. The other place is a folder called Screenshots that is created when you insert a memory stick into the DVL and copy the data onto it. What we have seen is that the GPR Summary Report is pre-populated with the screen captures from the field. In fact, you can do your whole GPR Summary Report using only screen captures if you want. Now I'm going to exit. I'm going to go back to Echo Project, and I'm going to exit from the GPR Summary Report and continue to save images. Let's say I open the long reconnaissance lines in the LineView module and are scrolling through them to see a feature I want to save. So to open up in LineView, I double click on it. I get the image and I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to scroll across again until I see an image that I would like to save. So maybe this one that shows a few features. And again, once I have this one, I click on the Save View button. I exit from LineView and go back to the Echo Project main screen. Now I'm going to analyze the grid data in more detail. First, I select the grid name in Project Explorer. Notice that this causes all the grid lines to turn red in MapView. Now I zoom in on the grid in the MapView window. To do this, I make sure the MapView window has the focus. Then I select the Zoom Window button from the toolbar and click and drag a box around the grid. Now I use the drop-down on the side of the SliceView button on the toolbar and select the SliceView-Grid option. This opens the SliceView-Grid and processes the grid data into depth slices. If you're not familiar with the SliceView-Grid module, there's a whole webinar about it, so I'm not going to spend time discussing how to make depth slices here. I'm assuming you already know how to do that. I slice down through the data and I see a great depth slice. Here it is. I make sure that the depth slice window has the focus. I click on the Save View button and it comes up with a name that says from 80 to 90 centimeters, and I think that's fine. I slice down a little bit more and see another image I would like to save. So again, I make sure the depth slice window has the focus, and I click on this Save View button again. This is the depth slice from 1.1 to 1.2 meters. Looking at the cross-section window over here, I see a grid line that shows a nice image of targets that I want to save. So I click on the Save View. I make sure this window has the focus, and I click on the Save View button. And this comes up with line Y3 as a name. I exit from SliceView-Grid, and I'm going to check the images that I've saved. So again, I go back to the name of the project in Project Explorer, and I go to the Attachments tab, and I see all the files that I've saved here on the end. Here's the depth slices that I just saved, and the cross-sectional image I just saved. To see the depth slices in MapView, I make sure the Grid Slices checkbox in the LineView window is checked. So here I notice that I've created the depth slices, but they're not visible in MapView. So I come over here to Grid Slices and I turn them on. Now my depth slices are visible, and I can use the slider bar on the side of the MapView window to slice up and down through the data. Now I might want to remove the interpretations to make that a little bit easier. I'm even going to remove GPS and the lines so I see nothing but the depth slice images. So I look at this image and I decide this is an image that I would like to save for my report. So I make sure this window has the focus. I click on the Save View. It offers a name. I accept that, and now that image is saved. One of my favorite ways of viewing grid data is in 3D preview mode, because it shows a depth slice as well as the X and Y lines at the same time. To open the grid in 3D preview, I select the name of the grid in Project Explorer, and then I select the 3D preview button from the toolbar. The other option is for me to right-click on the grid name and select 3D preview from the submenu. Now, looking at the 3D preview, I've got real estate issues here, so I'm going to minimize the MapView window and the line preview window and maximize the 3D preview window. Looking at the grid data in 3D preview, I slice down until I create the image I want. Again, using the depth slice window here, get a nice image here. I want two cross sections that cross nicely, that show nice hyperbolas. Let's go with this one. So again, I click on Save View, and it saves that image to the grid file, or sorry, to the GPZ project file. I close the 3D preview button. There we go. You sometimes have to use the menu window and then tile vertically to see all the windows. Now, as I was collecting the data in the field, I took some photos, and I think that I would like to include those in the report. In this case, I'm attaching an external graphics image file to the GPR project. Let me show you how to do this. First, I have to decide what element of the GPR project I want to attach the photo to. I can attach it to the project file, as we've already done with the data images, but if the photo is collecting the grid, I might want to attach it to the grid. Or if the photo is an image of collecting a line, I might want to attach it to that particular line. You can do any of these options in Echo Project. The photo I have is collecting the grid, so I'm going to attach it to the grid. I select the name of the grid in the Project Explorer window, and then I go to the Attachments tab on the far right, and you'll notice this option called Add a File. I click in the Add a File field, click on the ... button, and this allows me to navigate and find a file. So I'm going to attach this grid photo JPEG image. You can see immediately the photo is now listed in the Attachments tab. After I press this button, notice that the grid folder name in Project Explorer now has a paperclip on it. This is an indication that an image has been attached. You can use the Add a File option to add any files to the GPR project. For example, you can add a video file and save it with the GPR project. Keep in mind that attached files such as video files will not appear in your GPR Summary Report. But the important thing is that if you want to archive all the GPR data, images, and ancillary files to the GPR project file, you can. I'm going to add another photo, this time to a particular line. I seek out line 2. I go over here, I click in the field, the Add a File field, click on the ... button, and I'm looking for the line photo. I select it, I hit open, and you can see that that photo is now attached to line 2, and we notice that there's now a paperclip indicating that there's an attached file on the line 2 name. The last thing I would like to attach to my GPR data is an image of my field notes. I don't think that I want to include them in my report, but I want them saved with my data in case I need to refer to them sometime in the future. I select the project name, I go to the Attachments tab, scroll down, find the Add a File field, click in it, click the ... button, and seek out and find the field notes. Click on Field Notes, open that. So now the field notes image has been added to the project. Now we have enough material saved and attached to make our GPR Summary Report. So again, go to the GPR Summary Report by selecting it from the drop-down on the side of the Reports button, or by selecting Tools, Report, GPR Summary Report from the menu. Again, we see all the attached images, including the photos and the field notes. You have the option of selecting all of them to include in the report, or just the ones you click on. So I'm going to select them all, and then I'm going to uncheck the field notes because I don't want to include that one. After selecting the images you want for the report, they are shown on the bottom of the screen. Now, you must decide what order you would like them to appear in your report. Change the order by clicking and dragging them to a new location. So for example, I may want to start off with showing getting the work done. So I move that image and I move it all to the very beginning. And then I might want to show an example data set of what a cross-section looks like. And then I might want to show, here's the grid we collected, and here's a depth slice. So you get the idea. So I can set up whatever order I would like the images to appear in. So continue until you get them all in the correct order. Then, once you're done, you're going to click on the Generate Report button. The next screen allows you to add text. There's a number of predefined fields such as project name, survey date, client name, and site description that can be filled in. If you scroll down, you will see the images you checked in the order that you put them. There's a caption field for each image where a descriptive text can be added. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see all the images that we could include in our report. On the top left corner is the place where you add your company logo, so it appears in the report. Click the box and navigate to the logo image file and select it. So mine is already in here, but if I click on it again, I'll just show you how I put it in. Click on it. I move to the folder which contains my logo. I select it, I open it, and it will appear here. If you want to clear the logo out, you can click this button, it disappears. Again, I can go back in here, select it, put it back in. Note that the images have the name of the image file listed above them, but this name can be edited if desired. So I can delete this out and I can show line collection. Keep in mind that the amount of text is not restricted to the field size. You can add pages of text under any of these fields. In fact, we have many customers who always include a standard introductory section explaining a bit about GPR that they cut and paste into the additional comments section. If you would like a title page, check the title page checkbox on the side and fill in the fields with the appropriate information. Decide if you would like 1 or 2 images per page. This usually depends on how much text you add to each caption box. A conclusion page will appear at the end of the report if text is added to the conclusion field at the bottom. Once you've finished adding your descriptions, analyses, comments, and insights to the text fields, you are ready to save your report as a PDF file. Do this by selecting the Generate PDF button on the right. After the PDF is generated, it automatically opens, providing you have a PDF viewer program on your computer. So let me just change the size of this guy and we'll scroll down. So there you go, a nice professional report document ready to send to your client. Let's move on to another type of report, the Google Earth report. Note that the Google Earth report is generally only available if the GPR survey was collected with GPS. If your GPR data was not collected with GPS, it is still possible to create a Google Earth report, but before you can, you must define the latitude, longitude, or UTM coordinates of at least one point in your data. This is done using the options under the Tools menu. If you have a grid of data, use the Project Position Relationship Wizard menu option to define a lat-long position in your grid. And that's on this screen. If you have line data, use the Line Positioning menu option to define a lat-long position on one of your lines. Once this global to local position relationship is established, your data can be displayed on Google Earth. I'm not going to go over the details of establishing this relationship in this webinar. If you need help with this, please contact me and we can go over it. Now, I can tell that this data set, the same one I used to generate a GPR summary report, was collected with GPS because the names of the GPR lines in the Project Explorer have a little G beside them. The G stands for GPS. So we can generate a Google Earth report. To do this, use the drop-down on the side of the Reports button, or go to the menu item, Tools, Reports, and select Google Earth. I'm going to go from the toolbar this time. Selecting Google Earth. You are asked what color and thickness of the GPR lines you would prefer. It defaults to line width of 1 pixel, but you might want to change that. So I'm going to change that. It was originally 1. I'm going to change it to 2, make it a little bit more visible. So once I'm happy with the color and the thickness, I hit OK. Now, next thing I'm going to be asked for is what name to save the KMZ file. So you can navigate and save the file in any folder, but I usually save it in the same folder as where the GPR data is saved. So it offers this name. I select that. Once the Google Earth KMZ file is saved, Google Earth is automatically launched if it is installed on the computer. When Google Earth opens, it flies to the GPR survey location. You should see the GPR lines that were collected. I get down to here, I zoom in, and I can see the red lines collected, and I can see the grid. Note that the position of the GPR line paths are only as accurate as the GPS. So if you see the path going over a building or somewhere where the GPR data was not collected, it's because the GPS receiver became inaccurate after losing satellites, typical while working around buildings and tree cover. In this example, if you look at the red lines indicating the GPR path, we can see the GPS is pretty well behaved because the survey was collected in an open area. On the Google Earth image, we also see something we may not be expecting. All the flags and field interpretations we added to the data while collecting it are visible. Now, in this case, the field interpretations are not visible. So I'm going to jump back here and show you how to make sure they get included. Earlier, you might recall I turned off the interpretations in the LineView window. So I'm going to turn them back on because I want to include them in my Google Earth report. I'm going to go back to the Google Earth report. I'm going to generate it again. I'm going to leave the same name. I'm going to overwrite it. And now you can see that the interpretations labeled yellow and pink are now included in the Google Earth image. If you added a fiducial or press the star button on the DVL to flag the location of something you wanted to note during the survey, the flag appears in Google Earth as a thumbtack. So you remember this, as you're pushing along the system, anytime you press the star button, a flag appears in the data. Those flags appear as thumbtacks when we look at it in Google Earth. So the thumbtacks here labeled F2, F2, and over here, those are fiducial buttons. Similarly, if you touch the screen while collecting the data to add a colored dot, also known as a field interpretation, the colored dots are also visible on Google Earth. Interpretations can also be added after the data is transferred to a PC and opened in Echo Project. This is done using the interpretation module in LineView. I'm not covering how to add interpretations today. That is in another webinar. Back to Google Earth. Now, this is not detailed training on how to use Google Earth, but I can show you a few things that might be helpful when looking at your GPR data. A Google Earth KMZ file consists of several layers that can be turned off or on. To see these layers, go to the name of the KMZ file you just created in the Places window on the left, and click on the arrow beside it to open the KMZ file and see the sublayers. You will see a layer for the GPR line paths called GPS. To turn the line paths off, uncheck that layer. Notice how the lines disappear in the Google Earth image. Or if you just turn off the GPS path for one of the GPR lines, open the GPS layer and uncheck that line. You can see I can make the one line disappear by unchecking it. If you uncheck the lines, the grid lines disappear. If you uncheck line set, the flags and interpretations on the lines disappear. Notice that. If you uncheck grid, the interpretations on the grid disappears. Notice that the names of the interpretations and flags are quite large and clutter up the image. You can edit the size of the words to make them smaller or disappear altogether. First, determine the element you want to change and find it in the KMZ file. For example, if I want to decrease the size of the word pink, I need to find that interpretation name. Those interpretations were added to the grid lines, so I open the grid name under the KMZ file and I find the pink interpretations. Right-click on the name pink. A menu opens. Go to the bottom and select Properties. Then go to the Style Color tab. Then go to the label and decrease the size of the scale. On the Google Earth image, you can see the size of the pink labels changing. Keep decreasing the label size until it reaches the size you want or disappears. When you're happy, hit OK. You can do the same thing for the labels of other elements in the KMZ file. The other thing we probably want to add to the Google Earth report is the depth slices from the grid. To do this, I need to go back to the SliceView module. So I will minimize Google Earth for now and go back to Echo Project. I now open the grid in SliceView. I arrange it so I see the windows. Now, I've already generated the depth slices, so all I need to do is export them to Google Earth. I do that by selecting File, Export Data. Here I can choose to export the current depth slice or all the slices. I'm going to choose all slices. I save the depth slice KMZ file. And you can see it saving each of the slices. Then when it's done, it automatically launches Google Earth. I had it minimized so Google Earth was already open, but now you'll notice a new addition to the image, and that's the depth slices. Now, you can see that the pink interpretations are interfering with the depth slice image. So I'm going to go and turn those off. And I also see that I've got lines on here that I don't want to be seeing. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to turn off the collected lines. And there, now I just see the pure depth slice. Now, what I'm looking at is the first depth slice. To change the depth slice image, open the depth slices layer and select a depth slice. I will start at the surface and slice down. Here's 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, and here I hit 80 to 90. This is a nice depth slice. Now, if I turn the pink interpretations back on, you're going to see the correlation between the interpretations and the depth slice. So you can see these high amplitude linear reflections are actually hyperbolas that were marked in the field with the pink dot on them. So now let me zoom out. Let me turn the pink one back on. Let me zoom out and show my complete survey with all the depth slices and interpretations. The nice thing about the Google Earth report is that it allows your customer to see your interpretations in the context of where it was collected. And because Google Earth is free to anyone, there's no added cost for this capability. Now, while we are in Google Earth, I would like to combine the Google Earth report with the GPR Summary Report. This Google Earth image shows all the work that I did. The depth slice, yellow interpretations, the flags indicated by the thumbtacks, and the position of the utilities. I think it would be a really nice image to include in my GPR Summary Report. So let me show you how to save the Google Earth image so you can include it in a GPR Summary Report. Go to File, Save, Save Image. Navigate to the folder with the GPR data and save it there. And I'm going to call this Google Earth and hit Save. Then we can go back to Echo Project and attach that image to the project. So I'm going to come out of SliceView, go back into Echo Project, and I'm going to attach that image to my report. So I go to here, I say add a file, ... I look for the Google Earth image and I save that. And now the Google Earth image is included in my report. And if I open up the GPR Summary Report, you'll see that the Google Earth image is one of the options. Okay, moving on to another type of report. The next is a project report, which is a spreadsheet file. It actually generates several spreadsheet files saved in CSV format. Note that this type of report does not include any GPR images. It just includes flags and interpretations. Since our project data file already has flags and interpretations, we don't have to do anything else before generating the report. Now, I want to mention that the project file also has a polyline interpretation on line 2. If you notice, if I change the zoom, go back to fit to window, you'll actually notice this blue line on line 2. It's also visible in the line preview window. This is a line that follows the strong continuous reflector interpreted as the bottom of the fill layer. I want you to notice that this polyline interpretation is about 100 meters long. This will become relevant in a second. Go to Tools, Report, Project Report CSV. Then select a folder to save the files to. A dialog opens asking you for the polyline output interval. This is asking at what interval you want polylines in your data to be interpolated to. In this case, I know the polyline is 100 meters long, so I think that an interval of about 1 meter would be fine. After I press OK, several CSV files are generated in the specified folder. There are ones for the interpretations, that is the pink, yellow, and bottom of fill. So if I arrange this by type, you'll see that we have CSV files for yellow, pink, bottom of fill. We have one for the flags and fiducials, and we have ones for all the lines, but I'm going to select the one for all interpretations and open it. Now, because it's a CSV file, it automatically opens up in Excel. That's what I have on my computer to open CSV files. The number of each interpretation is listed at the top of the file. In this case, our GPR project contains 67 pink interpretations, 4 yellow interps, 1 bottom of fill polyline, and 9 flags or fiducials. This file contains all the details of every interp and flag added to the data. This includes the local XY coordinates, the time, and other information, but the most important columns are probably the latitude, longitude, and UTM coordinates, and the depth of the object where you put the interpretation on the screen. This is the most important information if you want to open the data in GIS software. Notice that when I scroll down to the polyline, so if I scroll down and find the polyline, which is the bottom of fill, the point is reported every 1 meter. So the line is interpolated on a 1 meter interval, as I specified. So again, no GPR images, just the location of interpreted objects and boundaries, which, if you think about it, is really the information that your customer is paying for. So let's go back to Echo Project. The last type of report I'm going to show you today is the CAD report. The information included in the DXF file is pretty much identical to the CSV file. Again, it contains all the interpretations and flags in the GPR project file, but it also saves the GPS path of the survey. Let me save the data in the project we have been working with. To generate a CAD report, go to the Tools, Report, CAD, or go to the Report button in the toolbar, click the drop-down, and select CAD. It asks what coordinate system you would like to use for the DXF file. The options are Project, which is the local XY coordinate system, UTM, or lat-long. For this demonstration, I will save them in the local XY coordinate system. Then select a folder to save the CAD file to. Now, I don't have a full version of CAD software, but I do have a viewer to show you some basics. I will open the DXF file in the Autodesk DWG TrueView software. Let me find the DXF file. And it opens up using the Autodesk TrueView software. Okay, let me maximize that. Let me show the full extent of the data. And let me put it into a rotation. So you can see the GPS path and the grid. And I can rotate those around in 3 dimensions. Now, all the interpretations are there, but they're very difficult to see because they're being masked by the lines and the grid. So I'm going to turn off those layers. So let me turn off the GPR line, the GPS line. So now you can see just the interpretations and the flags. And if I zoom in, again, you can see the interpretations added to the utilities. If I rotate it around so you can see those. The idea is that someone with a full CAD program would use the interpretations to add utilities to a CAD drawing. We know that the CAD file is basic at this point. But one thing that we need from our customers who are using CAD is to tell us what you need in the CAD file to make your work easier. So if you use GPR and CAD, we would appreciate your feedback. So that completes today's webinar on Echo Project Reports. I hope that you have learned something to make better deliverables for your audience or your clients. If you have to go, thanks for your attendance. Once we have this webinar available on our website, we will send you an email with a link. Please feel free to contact me with any questions that you have using the email address listed on the screen. Have a great day.